This part of the proceedings is really just about a bit of a call to action, and I suppose an ask from all of the organisers, ourselves, Tourism Ireland, the RNA and Causeway Coast and Glens, to say, what do we need to do individually and collectively to make sure that we rise to the occasion? The visitors coming some of them are golfers, they're quite discerning, they travel the world, and as we've heard, they're expecting great things from Northern Ireland. It's really just how we make sure that we step up to that. So we actually had great conversations with Angus Council, and Angus have been over a few times to share with us some of their learnings. And I just wanted to go through some of the stuff that they've actually shared with us. Obviously, they have targets the same as we have. They had 47% of their visitors were overseas, 65% stayed overnight, and obviously you can see there the breakdown that they have. Now, we will not have exactly the same as Angus, because each event will probably be different. And you can see there about what the course generation in terms of fees as well. So while people are here and the golfers come, many of them will want to play other courses, and that means they will go out to other parts, or they will make a plan to come back as well. So it's just really about the previous council, and obviously we know that the tournament went to Troon, etc. They have told us that they felt the economic benefit for 2 years post-event. So they were still feeling money coming through into various pockets 2 years after, which is significant as well. So they had 20 million economic impact, created 868 jobs. Obviously, you'd like to think that a lot of people were Scotland. We'll obviously have a lot of people from, we were just talking about both the ROI and NI. 8% rest of the world, and 55% age over 55 themselves. So a lot of people who are that affluent, maybe early retirees, etc., with a bit of money to spend. So again, it's great when we got so open engagement with the council to share, and they really stepped up in terms of what our message is the Open is really just more than one event. It's that lasting legacy. It's a broadcasting platform, the media as well, and they got 133 spectators and 17.4 million economic impact, so it's absolutely massive. And again, they were very, very positive, and same as ours. They said in Scotland they had teething problems. Not everything went smoothly. Every tournament has something that you need to have lessons learned, but it's great to have that acquired wisdom. And one of the things that they also did for us was they shared with us some of the information that allowed us to produce what we have done. It's on your table at the moment, which is a toolkit, which we've worked very closely with Causeway Coast and Glens to produce. And it's really, I just wanted to whiz through, not go into all the detail, but it really is just about the top 10 tips to get ahead of the game, and things you could actually be thinking about right now. You might think July's a way off, but believe me, it'll be here very, very soon, and obviously there'll be glorious weather to accompany it. So what we have done is just saying about getting ready for the Open. Again, Leslie's touched on the dates, etc., etc. But some of the key numbers that we need to look at, just to remind you again, they're staggering. And if you take away nothing else from today, it's just to remember that 80 million people are going to be looking at both Portrush but Northern Ireland as well, and that's a huge opportunity. So how can you, within your own marketing and your own business, ride on the coattails of all of that PR that's going on, and how can you make sure that you're front and centre, whether it's just working with the platforms on social and digital media, or doing something like Leslie was saying and using the branding and animation to bring it to life. So just to go through very, very quickly, and I know you've got this and people will take away, there are 10 tips. If you did 3 of the tips and did them in detail, that would be great. If you do all 10, happy days. It's really, really easy to keep up with the Open. It is changing all the time. We are encouraging people to actually go and look at the Open website, because it will have the latest news on the players, exactly what's going on, and spectators' advice. So it's right down to the detail about what to bring on course. Having been a volunteer at the Irish Open, we know what it's like when people turn up with kit and caboodle that then they can't bring on to the course. It's not a great start to your day. So it's just getting to, so that you can actually advise your visitors, if they're staying, what is going to happen when they get onto course. There's a lot of people will take the information today and go back, but you need to talk to your staff if you have them. How do you cascade that down, and that excitement, and is it through team meetings, etc., etc.? It sounds really simple, but it doesn't happen enough. Again, the traffic and transport, Heidi's detailed that. It may change in time. There are contingency plans as well, depending on numbers, etc. So again, whilst we're giving you information, just keep up to date. We're talking later about formal training, but we would like to think that everybody here today is an ambassador, both for Northern Ireland and for golf as well. And the same as we did, and we harp back to other events, starting way back from World Police and Fire Games, the Giro and the Irish Opens, we have really, really stepped up, and we have brought the province to life. And it's been a talking point. And I think one of the things that it instills is our pride in ourselves as well. When we know somebody's coming, we do naturally want to make sure that their visit is exceptional. Golfing, the golfers are a breed themselves. I'm sure there's lots of golfers in the room. It's actually to know about who's coming. So what we would say is, if somebody's making a booking or they're coming to your premise, whatever your service is, you do need to ask them up front, who they are, who's with them, where they're from, if they plan to see or do anything else. Do they need help with an itinerary? Have they got the transport sorted? It sounds simple again, but it's just knowing how can you make their journey smoother. There are bespoke golf packages that are easy to tailor. Simple things like weather forecasts sounds ridiculous, but it is important. People get up early. Is there anything we can do to make sure they have a packed lunch for the day, drying room, secure facilities for clubs, etc., etc. We do run a golfer's welcome scheme, which is, again, you can find it online, and it will walk you through how to be tailored to the golfing experience. And just an information sheet of if there's a latest news, if you've just had news about which player has signed up or something that's going on, make sure that's front and centre during the day. We'll talk about, I'm not going to steal Stephen's thunder because he's going to come up and talk about that shortly, but we have been blessed that we have been given some funding to run a WorldHost programme, and the amazing thing is that 4 golf clubs in around the North Coast have given us access into their club for free. So there's training going on at the moment, and Stephen will give you the details of that. It is subsidised. We are having talks with other councils and Belfast Council as well to make sure that we can offer that. So a course that normally would have been £80 to £90 is now £15 per person. So, and it's all about the golf, and it takes you onto the golf course and it gives you that experience. So if you want to get your staff excited about it, then that's the way to go. Again, a local gift on arrival, if there's something themed. Again, we're not talking about expensive. If there's something, a way to make sure that they have a memento. People love a takeaway. They love buying the merchandise, as Karen said, so they're likely to go and buy something in the shop. But if there is something that you have that you can give as a takeaway that's not expensive, that would be fantastic. Collaboration, coming back from Portrush yesterday, we know that people need to work together for the end-to-end experience. So just think today, who am I not talking to in this room or beyond that I really need to make sure that I'm putting on the best experience that I can? Is there somebody I can partner with locally as well? And who's signposting to your business? Are you actually making sure that you're making it appealing to do that? There's local chambers of commerce. There's lots and lots of networks to get involved with. And again, is it an opportunity to upskill and reskill your staff, as we did for sort of events in the past? It is that opportunity to just refresh. And as Leslie was saying, it's an opportunity to reach out and get some new skills and new people out there. If WorldHost might be the first time that some of our young people have done any course at all. I know when we did WorldHost for taxi drivers in Belfast, it was the first time many of them had done, it's an accredited course, it's the first time anybody had got a qualification. And the pride that instilled on people, it was just amazing that they actually felt that they had a qualification for the first time. Again, international, we've seen the figures. People are coming from everywhere. It's very, very, we're not expecting everybody to learn lots of different languages overnight. But just make it easy on yourself. I mean, there's things about making sure that you have maybe a welcome sign in different languages. Even a word of welcome to learn one sentence is great, again, if you know who's coming. Things like, chargers. We know that there's cultural differences, just to have a think about who's coming. Look at the tee-offs times, have those displayed as well, and anything you can do to have an itinerary. So if you know, and we talked about the 19th hole, if you know they're coming back at a certain time and they're leaving the course at a certain time, are we thinking about, is that a possibility to have an early experience in terms of a lunch or something, or are they coming off later, and do you need to extend your opening times to suit? So it's just having a wee bit of a think about that. And again, I mean, one of the things I'm passionate about is the guiding experience, because I do think a local guide can really make a difference. We have a lot of passionate people who know stories. We're all storytellers in Northern Ireland. We're great storytellers, but is there an opportunity to make sure you tell your story? And Karen was saying she was out with her friend last night who's retired, I believe, and we're just saying she sounds as if she'd make a great tour guide for the future, so we might need her details when you go, Karen. Again, marketing. It is an opportunity to, as I say, ride in the coattails of the PR and marketing. There will be branded materials, and there will be an opportunity to create something special within your own business. We are looking at that, and that, again, as Leslie said, will be out. There's some information on our media library. Photography and marketing is very expensive. Even with social media, can be very expensive as well. So we're hoping to provide a lot of additional materials to make sure that you can reach key audiences and without breaking the bank. And there will be, lots of PR and media. And some people say, well, there'll be a crowded media. You'll not be able to get our voices in. There is a trend towards, the human story, which is very prevalent in Northern Ireland. So it isn't just about the corporates. It's actually about what people are doing on the ground and how they're digesting. So the small man and the small business is certainly one that we think could make some headlines. Again, we're repeating here, but transport plans are there. How can you add value? I mean, obviously part of our strategy will unashamedly tell you that we want people to stay longer and spend more. That is just part of the strategy. How can you contribute to make sure that that happens? 60 to 70% of people returning is what the trend is in other parts. We in Northern Ireland have a challenge because we are an expensive perceived destination to get to. People have to, we are an island. To get people to come back and spend more money is probably a bigger challenge than other places who've hosted the Open in the past. That's why we have to really make sure that they know that they have to come back. As Karen said again, she saw some things last night, wants to come back, and again, that was only because somebody held her hand and told her, sold a destination and probably teased her that there were other things to see and do here. So we all have a role to play in that as well. Again, come again. Translation service are free, again, if you want to put some light touch translation in, especially directions. You have to remember and think how it feels when you're on holiday and if you're completely lost and somebody doesn't give you good directions. One, you could be wasting time and it just is frustrating. So if we're orientating people either to the event itself or to the surrounding area, there are great maps. I know Mary Jo is here. Where's Mary Jo? Oh, here's Mary Jo. From Visit Belfast, and obviously the office there is fantastic in terms of any orientation you need to get around Belfast, and presumably Mary Jo, you'll be coming up with some itineraries and things around that time as well. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, there's people there that you're not alone, that you can go into there, and also one thing that we feel that we've picked up, and it's not it is just something we've picked up when we're talking to businesses, is with GDPR, data capture, people are terrified of asking people questions, but it is really important that you gather some data on who is visiting, where they're from. So how can you market and make sure they come back if you don't know who they are, and you need to ask them about that, and that level of detail can be captured as well. So we're very, very keen that you all make sure that you know who's coming to the province as well. And who they're coming. If they're coming back, are they going to bring family or friends, or are they coming back to play more golf? I mean, these things are quite key as well. So nearly at the end here, again, get online. We've talked about the hashtags as well. menus, itineraries. You can't do enough online because people will be looking, and the more they see, we just want to make sure that they look and they think, oh my goodness, there's so much to see and do here. I haven't even scratched the surface of this destination. I need to come back. Again, marketing protocol, we've touched on this. There's a lot of resources there. Really, really keen on trying to get some buzz around about what we're calling the 19th hole. And again, I think we've got a great opportunity in Belfast and the surrounding areas to do that. So when people are coming off course and they're coming back, can we make sure that some people just want to get their head down and they might get up a bit early and they're playing golf the next day, that's fine. But we do believe there's an opportunity to create a bit of a party afterwards as well, and that might take a wee bit of thinking too. So we've also worked with Tourism Ireland, and they've got industry opportunities. They have a website as well about how to connect in to the further the overseas markets, and I'm sure a lot of you here are dealing with Tourism Ireland at the moment. I'll not go through. Terms of do's and don'ts is really just a summary. I think one of the key things to say with Karen here is in terms of don't be tempted to lift up the open logo because there are rights to that. So just be very, very careful. That's why we've created the Northern Ireland Made for Golf. We will have those assets, but just don't be caught out by lifting anything that you might get you into trouble. So really, it's if everybody could take a copy of this away. Again, if it's not you who's going to implement some of the things, you might just want to hand it to somebody in the office and say, could you have a look at some things, or back at the ranch, of some things that we could implement, that 2 or 3 things that make it easier. We are competing globally, and we do want people to come away thinking, I do want to come back. I focus on the event. We want the event to be the best open that has possibly been, and I think we've got great opportunity to do that. So really, what I'll just finish up is some useful links again, to pick up, to keep abreast of what's going on there. We will be pushing out, we have an easing that goes out as well. So if you haven't contacted us, you could leave a business card with me and we'll make sure you're on a mailing list to get some information. And the basic thing is just be ready to tee off, and please don't underestimate the timeline between now and July, because it will come round really, really quickly. So what I'd like to do now is, we talk about collaboration, and we have a lot of partners that we work with in Tourism Northern Ireland, and a lot of agreements as well. One of the key ones that is very passionate with me is volunteering, and there is an opportunity to volunteer for the event this year. We have partnered with Volunteer Now for many years, right through from World Police and Fire Games, Giro, and all of the Irish Opens, and they do a lot of work, great work. So I'll not steal the thunder, but I'd like to invite Lindsay to come up to the stage and just give a bit of an overview of the role of Volunteer Now, and hopefully if you wanted to sign up as well, if anybody's interested in volunteering, please feel free. Okay, Lindsay. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It is wonderful to be here today. Thank you so much for TNI for inviting us down to be part of this. Just really want to introduce myself. My name is Lindsay Armstrong. I am Community Projects Manager at Volunteer Now. And with me today I have Alison, who will come up and say a few words shortly, who is one of our event volunteers. But just to maybe give you a little bit of information for those of you who may not be familiar with us, Volunteer Now, we are a charity. We were formed in 2010 as a result of a merger between 9 different voluntary organisations. So although we've been in existence from 2010, we have a long history with us, well over 50 years in terms of our involvement with volunteers and the volunteer movement. So we have been delighted over the last number of years to be working in conjunction with Tourism NI and a number of different partners in terms of event volunteering. As an organisation, volunteering is at the core of everything that we do. As I said, we're a regional organisation, so we're well involved with volunteering right across the piece, whether it's delivering good practice training for voluntary organisations or not-for-profits who wish to involve volunteers, whether we are supporting voluntary organisations in terms of the recruitment of volunteers, or whether we are developing projects that we recruit, support and manage those volunteers ourselves to deliver a service. We do a whole range of things. But today we're here to talk about our events volunteers. And as Carolyn said, we have really been involved in this aspect of volunteering since World Police and Fire Games back in 2013, and we have had quite a number of large events that we've been involved in supporting the volunteering element of that, and it has been fantastic over the years for the likes of the Tall Ships, for the likes of the Belfast Marathon, for Lap the Loch, for the World Police and Fire Games, Grand Fondo, the Giro d'Italia, Balmoral Show, Culture Night, Armed Forces Day. We've done them all, and we've done them all in partnership with volunteers who help deliver that extra special element to the event. And we are in a very fortunate position that we would probably have around, through the legacy of those events, around 1,000 volunteers on our database. Those are people who specifically want to get involved in events. They may not necessarily want to volunteer their time every week, but when a big event comes, they will give you large amounts of their time, and that is phenomenal for us. We are always overwhelmed by the support that we get from people who volunteer their time, not because they're getting paid, but because they have a passion and because they really believe in local communities and they want to make a difference, and that is fantastic. But we're here today to talk about the Open, and nothing gets us more excited at Volunteer Now than a big event that we can involve volunteers with. Now, some people say we probably need to get out more, but I would disagree with that. Volunteers are pivotal, I think, to lots of those events. They have the luxury of focus in terms of their time to deliver and to make sure that people who are coming to the event have a good and positive experience, and the Open will be no exception to that rule. We are delighted to be working in partnership with Tourism NI, with the RNA, and with Causeway Coast and Glens Council to look at those roles and what they will be over the course of the Open. There'll be lots of volunteering opportunities. We reckon we will need around 400 to 500 volunteers to fill the roles in relation to the Open. Those roles will be what we call outside the ropes. So those are not on the actual golf course itself, but volunteers who will be needed as meeters and greeters, really, at key locations for the Open. We want to ensure that visitors to this country, either for the first time or the 100th time before they even set foot on a golf course at Royal Portrush, that they have the most amazing welcome, and they have a real sense of warmth and a real sense of the local community here. So volunteers will be key in terms of helping to deliver that aspect of it. We will have volunteers as meeters and greeters, providing a warm welcome to people at key locations. So things like the park and rides that you've heard talked about previously across Portrush, along the shuttle bus stops, at the train stations, at the main coach parks, transport hubs. They will be there as meeters and greeters to orientate the visitors as they come off those transport, to give them a warm welcome, to make sure that they know where they're going, and to create that sense of buzz and excitement about the event. And that's really what our volunteers will be involved in. There'll be lots of opportunities for people, and we will tailor that, and we will work with people in terms of involving as many people as we can from as diverse range of backgrounds as we can to reflect the diverse audience that we will be having at Royal Portrush for the duration of the Open. So we will be involving volunteers right from the 14th to the 21st of July. There will be a range of what we call volunteer shifts that will run from the morning time, afternoon time and evening time as well, to ensure that we are supporting those visitors as they come off the transport to go to the golf, as they come back again, and everything in between. So we'll really be there to make sure that we can answer questions that people may have, and also just to create a bit of excitement, to have a conversation with people so that they really get that sense of a really warm Northern Irish welcome. In terms of the volunteers, we will be providing training for people. So if you can think of people who may be interested, it's not a case of just turning up on the day and being expected to know it all. We will provide detailed training for volunteers in terms of what to expect for the duration of their role, but also that local knowledge, because you will get questions from individuals who are maybe coming to see the golf, don't know the area, and maybe want to know, well, where do I go for a cup of coffee, or where's good to go for dinner in the evening, where's the public toilets, all those kind of really important questions that visitors need to know. So we want our volunteers to be fully briefed and to have that information at hand so that they can be an information point for all the visitors that are coming to Royal Portrush. Okay. We'll also provide, for those volunteers, they will be branded, not literally, but that they will be highly visible in terms of people will know that they are volunteers. And I think that's a really important message for us to put across. As Carolyn said, we will have a global audience watching us, and we want to celebrate our local volunteers and what they give. So that's really important for us, that people can see, and I think people really value the fact that people are volunteering their time to help support an event, gives that additional edge, I think, really, that people really value. So, and there will also be snacks and food available for those volunteers as well. They're not being paid for their time, but we need to look after them well, and that's what we pride ourselves on at Volunteer Now. That's what we will be doing. In terms of who can get involved, we're asking for people aged 16 plus. As I said, training will be provided, so you don't necessarily need to have specific skills. Now, if you are running a business, you will probably be, and let's hope, completely flat out over the course of the Open with the visitors that are coming and all of the services that will be needed. But you may know people, you may have family, you may have friends who would be interested in getting involved and sharing in the experience of the Open. So if you do know people, please do pass on the message. We are currently recruiting for volunteers, and you can volunteer as an individual. You can come forward and register with us, but also think of groups. Maybe you're involved in a particular youth club, or you run a particular, or you're involved as a member of a particular group. We can accommodate people to volunteer within groups as well, and also family volunteering. We're really keen, you know, sometimes if you do have children, it can be very difficult to maybe find space in your diary to pencil in a volunteering opportunity, but we're keen to look at opportunities where families can come, because we do recognise that the earlier people get involved in volunteering, they become a volunteer for life. Also, employer-supported volunteering we're involved in as well. So if you are a business and you have capacity over the Open to allow staff time off to get involved in volunteering, then we have opportunities to work with you on that as well. You might be too busy, and let's hope so, but if you do have capacity, we know there's been a number of businesses that have approached us and want to use that model in terms of staff, allowing staff some time off, and then staff complement that with some of their own time as well in order to allow them to volunteer, and we're really happy to look at that as well. But I thought one thing that was important to look at today, it's all very well me standing up here and talking about volunteering and how good it is, but I thought it would be useful to have an experience from one of our event volunteers. So I'd like to invite Alison just to come up to give her experience of why she gets involved and the types of activities she's been involved in.
Lovely, Lindsay, thank you. Lindsay's really nearly touched on everything I was actually going to chat to you about. Myself, my background, sort of brief background, was I was early retired from the public sector, and I had a lot of time to sort of try and fill that time, and up popped the word police and fire games. So since then, thus began my journey with Volunteer Now, and I've been involved in all the major events and local events like, you know, Culture Night in Belfast, various things. And really, it was just to say, although Lindsay did speak on it, I come in as a community level. I have local knowledge. You know, I would know people, I would know things around that particular area. If people approach me, I'd be able to show them the easy ways and where to go to and things like that. Again, I'm also your vocal person at any event. I get a branded t-shirt, I have a volunteer thing on it. So anybody at any event that doesn't know where to go, they can approach me, I can help them. I'll be at different areas throughout, should I be from Belfast right through to the actual event. Not me, but our team will be somewhere within that particular area where the event is held. But again, personally, my way of why I volunteered was rather than sit on a couch and just watch it on TV. Why don't I be part of it? You know, the latest golfing ones that were on, the past ones, the County Down and also Portstewart, they were fantastic. The people that came, the visitors that came, and to be actually part of all that superb. You know, you could see everything that you're doing now and talking about, but to actually be there, enjoy it, and watch it all come together and all this hard work, you know, it is good, it's good. And we still speak about everything. And our training is really good. We get trained on what we need to do, what we can do. And yes, I am a WorldHost. I've also done the WorldHost training, so I've been involved with that. But overall, it's a great experience. It's lovely to be part of a team. And I meet an awful lot of people. And there's contacts that we make throughout of it. So, and if you do have a spare few hours, please come and join us. It's not too difficult to join up. And we're out there with the cards, so give me your names and we'll get you involved in it. But all I want to say is I hope someone local comes away with the claret trophy, the claret jug as they speak. So, but thank you anyway for those few minutes.
So just finally, just to reinforce what Alison was saying there, for anybody who is interested, we do have some information with us today. Please do come and ask, and we'll certainly give you some brochures that you can take away. But you can go onto our website. That's www.volunteernow.co.uk, and there you will see an events section. So it will list lots of the events that we're involved in, and you can register directly online with that event, and then a member of our staff team will be in touch with you. So please do take the opportunity to go online and have a read through, and if it's not for you, please pass the information on to someone else who you feel would benefit from that. But really, volunteers for us they're amazing human beings. They give of their time, and we've had phenomenal volunteers, but we want to keep adding to that family of volunteers, because we recognise that the more people, the more diverse range of volunteers we have, the better the event is. So please do think about it, and please do pass the message on. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Lindsay. Just remind me of one of my own. I had volunteered myself in the Giro, and my claim to fame was closing the Antrim Road for non-political reasons. And very proud to do so. So we touched on WorldHost. There's a fantastic opportunity to get involved. 4 golf clubs have already come together in the North Coast, and we're having conversations with a lot of different councils. We have created a programme which we're going to introduce Stephen now, who's going to tell us what's involved in the programme. We are subsidising it. We did the same for the Year of Food of Drink, where we created a food WorldHost package, and we've got that flexibility. So we've created one particularly for golf. There's a lot of interest at the moment. Training has already begun, and the feedback is fantastic. So I'd like to have Stephen Chambers, who's one of the 4 trainers who's delivering WorldHost locally at the moment. So Stephen, if you want to come up, thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm afraid I'm the thorn amongst the bevy of roses that we've had this morning. So we go from there. It can only get better. One of the things that central to all of our businesses are our people. And one of the things that we need to realise is that only 37% of people who've been to Northern Ireland say they've had a great customer experience. 37%. So there's a big deficit there that we need to address. And what we've done with this particular course is we've thought about what will the golf person, visitor, whether they happen to be a player or accompanying the visitor, would want to see, what they want to do, and what challenges does that have for the people involved in delivering that service. So the product we've produced is aimed at growing their skills, growing their knowledge, giving them an insight into what that visitors' needs will be. So we've got a team of 4, as Caroline said. We're running courses at the moment in Royal Portrush, Portstewart, Roe Park Resort and Castlerock Golf Course. And we're using basically a product that comes from the WorldHost suite of programs. We've taken the Ambassador program and we've added to it And I'll show you a couple of slides later on about how we've done that. And it's, as I said, it's tailored not just to the Open, but also to the fact that there are also these other golf visitors coming who've got this money to spend. And we've also included the fact that we're trying to knit this in with the Northern Ireland Made for Golf programme. So, what's the course look like? Well, we ask people to pitch up at 9:30 in the morning. They all get a personal workbook that they can fill in and take away with them. We feed them, because we usually find they arrive when they're hungry, first thing. And they also get a lunch. Part of the programme also is the fact they get the opportunity to talk to either the manager or the professional of that club. So they can ask technical problems, they can ask technical questions, they can ask about facilities. And they also will brief them on the facilities on that particular club. We've aimed to finish up about 2:30. Successful ones, they get WorldHost accreditation, which is valid for 3 years. Some people will say, well, we've done this before, but this is a new program. Okay? Even if you've done WorldHost before, there's been a change. There was a new program issued last summer. The other great thing about this is that you can get business accreditation. So if 50% of the people in your business train, you can get business accreditation. And you can put a logo on your shop, on your business, says, we are WorldHost Business. James Street South, who's here today, they're one. Okay? This is from the course that we ran last week. This is the manager of Castle Rock Golf Course, and he did a nice presentation. So what's the content? Well, what we try to do is draw out from people and inspire people to understand what is their role as an ambassador. How can they project themselves and their business? We talk about how they can give a warm welcome to the visitors that come to see them, and how they can deal with those awkward questions. There's always somebody, and they always ask the question, you go, that's the question I don't want to hear. So we give them strategies of how to deal with that. But what we want them to do also is to leave that person with a lasting positive impression. The thing they're going to go away and say, when I went there, it was fantastic. Because they're then going to give a referral. They're going to come back themselves, we hope, but also they're going to give referrals. And we all know how valuable referrals are in business. We also look at a couple of other wee things that perhaps are on the periphery, but they can make all the difference when you're dealing with customers. Thinking about how are they different? What are their specific needs? And we're not just talking about disabilities, although that has to be considered. But these days you also have to think about allergens, whether they have come even equipped for the weather. And we know what the weather's like in the North Coast. 4 seasons in one day. I left this morning, it was snowing. And we want them to be able to enthuse that guest. Because it's not just good for the business, it's good for them. We all know what it's like if you get a satisfied customer who's had great service, they give them a good tip. And that's good for your staff. That shows them how much they're valued. And finally, we give them an insight into what are the local resources, the local destinations that are around them, and that they can refer those guests to. These are a couple of the slides we use. One example. What's the value if somebody comes by and takes a cup of coffee off you? Well, if you keep that customer, it's £20,000. So, satisfied customer, £20,000. You want that in your business pocket, don't you? Get it wrong, it could cost you £32,000 in a year. Because they tell other people about their poor experience. They don't come and spend their money. They send them somewhere else. So these are the sort of things that they're exposed to, and they're given techniques about how to work around that. Now, this particular programme, it's been supported by Causeway Coast and Glens Council and by Tourism Northern Ireland. That's allowed us to offer that course at the reduced price of £15 per participant. That wouldn't even pay for the catering on the course, by the way. Okay. To get accreditation, there's a pass mark of 75%. So this isn't one of those courses you turn up, listen, and leave. You have to listen actively, because at the end of it, you are going to get a test. People are going to get tested. And they're also marked on their participation. So it's not just turn up, make a few notes, pass the test. You have to get involved. And that's great because the people there can talk to other people in other businesses, and they exchange information and they network. They build partnerships. They can say, oh right, you do that. You're a tour guide. Oh well, we're always looking for a tour guide. What sort of tours do you do? Or you're a restaurateur. Yeah, we're always asking for a good restaurant at night. So it's a fantastic networking opportunity as well. They also have to do an evaluation. Okay? Every person who attends has to complete an evaluation of the course, and that's the feedback for us. Okay? The successful graduates, they get a certificate, and this one is custom designed this year for the Northern Ireland Golf Ambassador. They'll get their uniform pin, which they can wear proudly, WorldHost, and they also get the Made for Golf pin. And that's not you don't get too many people with both those pins. So we had the first one last Monday, Castle Rock Golf Course, with participants from across the North Coast. The great thing about was, when we got the evaluation at the end of it, we got 5 out of 5. And that's what we really love to see. We don't mind 4 out of 5, because we'll learn things. Pass rate was 100%. Okay. I'll be around afterwards if you want to talk to me about the programme. And thanks for your listening.